go live to FB and that one. Don't even worry. I like it. I think it adds a little element of puppy dog. Okay. We are going, I think, preparing. Here we go. We are live. Welcome everyone to the next installment of my podcast, Let's Talk Horses. And today, my very special guest, welcome, Miss Megan Hill.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
I'm so
And
excited.
my
And,
dog in the background.
and welcome, Lady. Lady and Megan. Megan and Lady. Lady is part of the guest panel today. So, and I love just before we went live, you said, and I've just spent 3 weeks with horses, and you've been in Costa Rica for those three weeks, right?
Yes, for 3 weeks. And it was, well, 2 of the weeks I was with horses. So
Basically, you are a horse now. You're part
exactly.
horse.
I'm like, what is happening? Why am I not writing this morning? What's going on?
Yeah, my day, there's something missing from my day.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to chat to you about, it's this podcast where I just get to talk to people about my favorite thing in the world. So I'm always happy. But the question I'd like to start with, and for you, I actually don't know this at all, but how did horses come into your life?
As a kid, I was like, I did different lessons and like I was around it a little bit as a kid. But then just totally not at all until Um, it was obviously access consciousness. I think like with Gary Douglas and conscious horse stuff. And I think the first time that I actually there was an event in Costa Rica and people were like riding horses and I was like, what is happening? Why is everyone riding horses, And then I think that the next time that like sort of like made me leap into it was they asked, I was hosting a lot of access consciousness classes at the time, and they asked if I would host the access conscious horse conscious rider facilitator training in Dallas. And I was like, sure, like I'll organize the event for you, but I'm not getting, like, I wasn't going to do any of the horse stuff. And I didn't get on a single horse, but it was so interesting to be around the class and to see everything going on. And it made me look at where I could actually choose that and choose, I had like a weird fear of it. I don't even know why, but like the fear of some fear that was there. And yeah. So
Yeah. And I think that comes up a lot for people. Like, I think the fear thing is something that, I don't know, people, it seems to create like some way to separate from horses, like when they know. And, I don't know what that is for you, or if there's anything you've discovered since then that what maybe that fear actually was, or like, yeah, is there anything now that you've been around horses? Do you still get that basically? Do you still have that?
I think like at the training, I was kind of like, everyone who was getting on horses was like very proud of the fact that they could ride and get up there. And I was like, I don't, I, I didn't have, it's like fear and control. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't afraid to get on one, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd say that is still like this, I'd say for the last 2 weeks, it was constantly coming up this place where I still have some separation between like what's my job as the rider, what's the job as the horse, who's in control, like this whole dynamic that was at play. And I actually went and I have a horse in Costa Rica. His name is Principe, and I've had him for, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years. And I went and hung out with him in his stall one night, and um he just like kept really coming up to me like really close, like staring me in the eyes. And I was like, oh, this is strange. So I like moved over and thought was going to see if he did it again. And everywhere I moved, he was like, boom, like right up there, invading my personal space. Like it was like he was piercing through my whole world. And that fear of like coming, like kind of like, oh my God, is he going to like do something? Is he going to like, is he going to, should I get out of here? It was just whatever all those things were. And he actually went and nibbled, like he like went to go on my arm and like with his, big mouth or whatever. And I was like, ooh, like, oh no, what if he bites me? And I'm like, this is effing crazy. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna let you in. Like, I'll just relax. And he started like kissing up my whole arm, and I just started bawling. I was just like, I've had a barrier to this creature, for 7 years, who's just like, I'm just here to take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that that started melting a lot. I have lots of like, I have things with trust. I have things with like, okay, as long as I'm the one that's totally in control, I know at least if something goes wrong, I'm the one that fucked it up, or like there's
Yep.
some intrinsic safety thing in my world, which also doesn't really allow anyone else in, including horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you spoke about, it's really cool because you spoke about like part of that stemming from kind of trying to figure out what my job as the rider is, which I think is like a big thing for horse people as well. It's like, how much is too much? Like, am I being too much here? Am I asking too much? Am I disciplining too much? Blah, 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 blah. But then when you got to that place with him where you just let him in, it's like, to me, it's like, well, that's my job as the rider, right? It's this place where you have that, where the two of you really become that oneness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know in that moment, oh, he's taking the piss. I need to step
Yeah.
in here and correct some things. Or now we're kind of moving off here, kind of in this one direction. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And it was funny because I was like, oh my God, now we're like so connected. And tomorrow's ride is going to be so amazing. And he was like such a little fucker the next day. I was like, wait a minute, where did our little beautiful love bomb go? And so every single day he was like inviting me to really look at every place where I'm still like trusting or not trusting or control, like this kind of this like constant battle of trusting me, trusting the horse, trusting the world around me. Like I basically spent 2 weeks on like a trust exercise, and I don't know where exactly I got besides the last ride. I don't know, do you want me to go into this story now? Who knows? I guess.
Please. Yes, please. Yes, yes, yes.
I invited my cousins to come to Costa Rica like for my birthday. And so we went out, and they haven't, like, they've ridden horses a little bit. And so the first ride was nice and easy and slow and controlled. And then the next day I had said to one of the cowboys, like, they'd like a little bit more umph in a horse. So I thought maybe it would just be, just a little bit, not a total like trail horse or something. And the moment I heard of the horse that they put them on, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. Like, I knew the horse name. And then we get out there, and it was the strangest thing because I didn't really have as much, I couldn't get into my horse's head as well as I usually could.
Uh-huh.
And once I realized, like, there were two cowboys with us, and if you ever get a chance to ride at El Lugar, it's the most beautiful place in the entire world. And there are these cowboys that go out with you, and they totally like take care of you. And especially if you're not, like, they'll let you ride on your own if you want that. But this was a different ride. This was like, hey, can you give us a greater ride? And so I realized we were really riding as like a unit, and they were the lead. And once I realized that I could trust them and trust that the whole thing was going to be okay. Because I also started being like, I need to take care of them, and I need to take, like, if they fall off their horse, it's my fault, like all this crazy shit. And by the end of it, it was like, I just let go and and trusted every single element, the cowboys, the horses, my cousins, the place, the earth, like, and it was the most fabulous ride that I've ever had so far. So
cool. Yeah. And, talking about those cowboys, I mean, they don't speak English either. So it's not like you can be like, when you said they want a bit more oomph, like they're going to interpret that in the way that they interpret it.
Exactly.
And you're on the ride and you're not like, oh, hey, and, blah, blah, blah. You're not conversing with these people with words. It's like this purely energetic, like you said, you're in this bubble together where there's this, this herd, I would say. You become part of like this.
Yeah. And I think that's what like, I feel like horses truly teach you everything you really need to know. And it showed me that I didn't have to always be the lead of the herd. I'm a very natural leader. I can be very dominating. And it was actually interesting to be like, oh, okay, somebody else has got this one, and I can trust that as a pack member, we're going to be good, and it's not going to go the way that I planned it to go, but it's going to go awesomely,
Yeah.
again, control. And it was hilarious. So
Yeah. But it's so like that's really the horse way. Like, you even spoke when you were in the stall and, you had that real moment of connection with Principe. And then, the next day it was like gone. Well, not gone, but it was like different.
different.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but horses are like that. Like you watch them in the field and be together, and 1 minute they're like, nim, 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 and the next minute they're kicking the shit out of each other. And they're like, but they don't have a point of view. They're not like, oh, it's personal, sweetheart. You've pissed me off, so I'm going to fucking cream you or something. It's just in the moment. This is me. I'm going to show up as me. You're going to be you, and we're going to be together, and like whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so looking at, because I love these conversations because part of this is also about these classes that we do in Access called Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of facilitators around the world facilitating these classes. And what I love about these classes is how much they teach me, or how much horses in general teach me to be better as me, like be a better version of me in a way, like how I take everything that they show me and I bring it into my life and use it with people, with my other animals, with the earth, like in every aspect of my life, where I always saw horses as this over here and me as here. So then when we interacted, it was this thing where we were together. But just having these conversations on this podcast with people is also this place of like really showing people in a way how much horses actually teach you everything about being you in the world. And that's why I love what Gary has done to all of us with these horses, especially the Costa Sensei, which is the horse in Costa Rica, and this thing of like, he was the one that really first showed me, everything I've learned in life, I've learned from a horse. So looking at like this time you had in Costa Rica, these 2 weeks with your horse, with the horses there and the land, like, how does that apply to your life? Like, how do you bring that into now your world and people and your work? And
Um, I I think for me, like again, it's kind of started, like you said, with Gary and everything I've ever learned from a horse, and actually being able to ride horses at classes and then being able to ask questions about the ride. So conscious horse, conscious rider classes are very much like that. Or whether even if you're not riding, like if you had an interaction with a horse and to be willing to ask about it, because it's so energetic and it's kind of like they'll show you exactly the energy or what energy you need to see to change what it is that you're looking for if you have that ask. Every time I'm with horses at this point, I'm really asking them to show me more of me all the time. And that shows up in a million different ways. And it's actually really hilarious because like if I take just the last 2 weeks, every single thing that I had up in my world that I was frustrated with or didn't even know that I could get to, every single interaction showed me more of it. Like, hey, this is actually what's possible. And again, it's energetic. It's such a great gift to be able to have conversations with people who are conscious horse, conscious rider facilitators like yourself. There was one day, Susie Gotzi, who, works a lot with horses, she was out on a ride and all the horses were a little like going cuckoo, cuckoo. And there was this moment where Susie was working with another rider and then I was kind of there. And it was interesting because it was like we got to something together that then kind of calmed down the whole herd of horses. And then afterwards, got to talk about it at breakfast because that's part of like a lugar, the gift of it. But I'd say that's the gift of the conscious horse, conscious rider classes, because if you're willing to bring your life to the class, then the horse will show you horse, whatever, in every single facilitation, whether it's a direct facilitation with you or with another person. It's kind of like access classes in general. Like if you bring stuff up or bring you and bring your world to the class, they will show you the quickest way to get to where you want to go. And I've seen it so many times and it's like every time. You're like, how did this just, how did you know? How did this just happen? And um, I I think it's just so fucking cool. So I bring every energy in then, okay, this, they just showed me how to deal with this in a meeting or this on a project because they showed me the energy that I was being that either isn't letting it work the way that it could, or I'm not trusting somebody else to lead something, or you know what I mean? Like it shows me
Yeah.
the dynamics of living, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how much I love as well, because again, you're with these creatures that don't, you know, it's like the cowboys. There's no talking, that you can't talk a horse into doing something for you or out of something, or you can't ask them like, hey, what's up in your world today? Or what is this? Like, what is this behavior? I mean, you can definitely be with and ask those questions, but what you're going to get to is this real sense of how the whole, like everything is energy, like everything is operating on this level that is not to do with the words or what people are saying or even what the horse is displaying in their behavior. It's like none of it's actually relevant. It's about getting kind of beneath all of that and really looking at what's going on with the energy of things.
Yeah. And to
Yeah.
me, that's one of the best. It's like if you have anything going on in your life that you can't figure out, if you just go hang out, like go to a freaking conscious horse class, go to
Yeah.
just intro or go have a session, because it can show you so quickly if you're willing to show up like that in a very kind and nurturing way as well. You know what I mean? Like it's just, they're not looking at you like, hey, you're stupid and wrong, why are you doing this? It's like, hey, you're amazing, and here's how else you could, like, I'm going to make you learn how to do this the way that you could,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to be you, basically.
Yeah.
It's like they're like the most dynamic teachers of self, or like whatever that is, where they like, you know, and you could be in a class, a conscious horse class with 15 other people, and you're working with, you know, 2 to 5 horses, and every horse is going to be different with every single person because the horse is directly relating to you as the being. They're not relating to, you know, the facade you have on or
Yeah.
like, you know, whatever you're
There
trying
is
to present
there
to the
is
world.
there is no facade with horses. Like that just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you were saying when you were in the store with Prince, where like he was just cutting right through everything and was just like, dude, I see you. Like you
Yeah.
can't, yeah, no matter how hard you try and whatever layers you put on and the amount
Yep.
of masks you wear, it's like, I'm going to cut through all of that and find, and you
Yep.
know, like even taking that and being able to apply it, you know, like when you're in the world with people, with your relationships, with family, with meetings that you're on, and like, and it's not about like, you know, being like whatever weird about it or anything, but it's starting to really flex that muscle and build that muscle of seeing people like that as well, like being able to actually cut through people's facade, and like you said, it's in a completely kind and caring way, but being able to actually start to acknowledge people for the being that they are rather than what they're presenting to the world as well.
Totally. And that
Yeah.
actually, if you're willing to be that, then everything kind of relaxes and gets really easy,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And you get to a point where you can just acknowledge people for who they are, and it's okay. Like it's like, you know, and no matter what they're saying or what they're telling you, it's like, and you don't even need to say it out loud. It just becomes this completely open conversation with the true energy of things. And yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think you also don't have to like, you see it, I think in the beginning, you see it so clearly with other people. You're like, oh, look at that person on their horse. Like that makes total sense, that person over there, like that makes total sense. And then
Yeah.
when you're willing to like be like, oh shit, this is what I'm creating, like flip it on you.
Yeah.
And but also like not from a wrongness. Like there was one ride that I was on in Texas at Gary and Dane's ranch, and I just kept being at the back and going so slow. And I was like, Jesus, what is going on? And Cody, who works with the horses there, he's like, maybe you just like being at the back. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you are at the back all the time, and that horse actually likes to be in the front, so maybe you just like it. And I was like, he's like, there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm like, oh, I actually do. Like, I like being back here and seeing everyone. I don't like people riding up on me, you know? But like, from like, okay, just knowing that you are whatever you're being, whatever you're requesting for your ride, which is the same as like your life, is showing up the way that you're asking for it. And not
Yeah.
from like, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. And because this person's like running in circles, they're a better cowboy and you suck because you're slow at the back. It's like, what are you requesting for your ride? And what if none of it's wrong? And you can always change it. And it just, to me, it's really shows me all the time that my energetic request is actually getting actualized. And sometimes you don't even realize that that's what you're asking for. And so then
Yeah.
once you realize that what you're asking for is showing up, then it becomes easier to realize, oh, I could actually ask for anything then.
Yeah.
And enjoy whatever ride I'm on right now with it, whether it's horse or life or whatever.
Yeah. I love that so much. It is really is like each day is a different ride. And even not even each day, it's like every moment is like riding a different horse and a different ride. And I heard Gary say once, I think it was to Brendan actually, like you're at where you're at in life right now based on all the choices you've made. And I think a lot of us are like, it's kind of hard to hear that because you're like, oh, so no one else is responsible for where I'm at in my life. And I think that's exactly because we think like we're like caught up in this whirlwind of something and we just end up somewhere. But when you're willing to like actually own that and be willing also for it to not really show up the way you think it's going to, like you said with the ride where you were at the back of the pack um and then Cody sort of highlighted and you're like, oh yeah, it's showing up in a different way, but this is actually where I enjoy being right now. Like
Yeah.
this is what my choice is creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from no rightness or wrongness, like, okay, this is cool. This
Yeah.
is exactly apparently what I was asking for. And
Yeah.
what like, I like it. It doesn't match what other people, like, but it's my life, it's my choice, and I'm enjoying it.
I love that. Yeah. And what do I want to choose now?
Yeah,
Like, what next?
yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else, like and I know you've kind of done this throughout the podcast as well. I'm so grateful. Is there anything else for people out there looking to, get to a conscious horse class or be around horses, like anything that you can say to people as an invitation to choose to have more horses in their life, I guess?
Yeah, I would first just go to one. If you're like, nah, I don't want to, or whatever, like just try one. They have melted me in ways that I cannot even begin to describe. And in that very like kind, nurturing way, like not like, you could freaking do therapy, and you could do like you could do all sorts of stuff. But if you've got stuff in your life that you're like, man, I would just really like something different, try a conscious horse, conscious rider class, because there's something that it's also not just about the horses gifting to you and showing you blah blah blah. It's actually like this place of communion where you actually start to get a sense of the communion that's possible with you, with the universe, with like an animal like a horse. Like um horses were the first thing I remember. It was actually at the class that I hosted, the conscious horse conscious rider facilitator training. Gary said to go and like walk around the horses and find one that speaks to you or whatever, and ask it to show you. And I was like alone. I'm like, I'm doing this on my own. I don't want other people around. And I went in like late at night into these stables, and I walked up to one, and I was like, not even really believing that it would happen, like that I could actually receive from another creature. It was just bizarre to me at the time. And I was like, will you show me? And the energy, it was just energetic. And again, where I was like in tears. And I think that there's not a lot in the world, especially right now, that like will show you with like this tremendous sense of kindness, no words to get even attached to like meaning or whatever. You can't, like, a horse doesn't have anything that you could really get that attached to, and no judgment, and just like no significance, no, I don't know how to describe it besides it. They're some of the most vulnerable and nurturing experiences of my life, and they show up upon the most, like at the most magical times. And so just check it out, like you said, like you don't have to get on a horse, you don't even have to touch one, but like I wonder what gift a horse could be to your life that you haven't allowed in yet. And it
Yeah.
doesn't that you have to keep going and be around, become a horse person or any of that. Even if you're like walking down the street, like I don't know, I live in Colorado, so there's horses everywhere. And you can just like ask one to show you one time, and see what shows up and allow them to, like, they're here to gift to us. I do know that. I have learned that at least. In a way that I'm not sure we've received for a while. Gary talks about like for however many years, we were man and horse were together, and now we just aren't. And I wonder how cool it is, like if you just allow horse in, what would it change, what would it create, and what would it contribute to you?
Yeah. And it's almost like as well, I love that story where you talk about that horse that showed you however many years ago that was, because it never leaves you either. So like you say, it's not like you now make this commitment of like, because it's kind of
now
a bit
we're besties.
well, it's also like kind of a big commitment having horses in your life. They take a lot of fucking time and money, and they're very demanding, and they're like, feed me and feed me again. And now you need to like you don't have to go down that pathway. And I see a lot of people that don't intend to, and they end up doing it because it is such a huge contribution to have them there. But the thing I love, love, love as well is the moment you let them in, they never leave. Like it's kind of like your first bars session when you get your bars run the first time. You're like, whatever way. Maybe it was a huge change for you. Maybe it was kind of this, for me, it was like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. But it never went away. I was like, I can't get away from this thing now. Like it's whenever I require that energy, like even just to know that they're there. So it's like, yeah. And like you said, I love that so much, that to become one with them again. And that doesn't mean owning them and riding them every day unless that's what you choose. It's this place of like, and I've talked about it on a lot of these podcasts, like this global herd energy where you become part of their herd. You become part of the horse energy of the world, and they invite you in and they open their energetic, bubble to you, and you become part of that then, and you're there for as long as you choose to be part of it. And as the more you want to receive from them, the more they will just keep gifting and gifting.
Yeah. And if you haven't been around horses, just know at some point you were in other
Exactly.
lifetimes. You just let it in now, like
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've built every civilization on this planet pretty much has come about through their help. The wars and the everything. We've been very much a partnership. And I've mentioned this as well before. It's like, what if that was the beginning of something else as well? Like, what if truly also now having something like a conscious horse, conscious rider class available on this planet, combining real true consciousness and horses together, like what else is now possible where we could explore things with these magnificent creatures that maybe we haven't gotten to before as well, that there's stuff that they still can show us and teach us and be for us and us for them that we've never been before. So
Totally. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you're doing this podcast and you're doing, conscious horse, conscious rider classes, because they're such a gift, and they're very different. They're empowering both of the person and the horse. It's like there's a lot of different horse stuff out there, but this is like really where there's something different that's possible. So I highly recommend checking it out. But I'm like a big conscious horse, conscious rider cheerleader, just because it's changed my whole life. Like every single time changes my whole life. So
yeah. And there's a bunch of them going around the world all the time. So we'll put links here where you can find all the classes. There's a bunch of amazing facilitators around the world, and we're all willing to travel. We also love coming to different places to be with you. And
if you can't find one near you, find one and harass them to come to you.
They come. And that's the cool thing as well. We get to go to different parts of the world where the horses are different and the people are different. And it's based on the energy of that part of the world that the horse has chosen to be in this lifetime. So, yes. And if you can, please, please, please check out El Lugar in Costa Rica. And if you can get there, please do. Even if it's in 5 years from now, the place is going to be there forever, basically. And these horses and this land is very, very, very different to anywhere else in the world. So thank you so much, Megan, on
Thank
here
you.
with me.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
this has
having
been
me.
awesome. Yeah. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the world somewhere soon. Hopefully it's on the back of a horse.
Yes.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you next time.